Welcome to Imagine Ocean!
Take a deep breath, because in just 10 seconds, our enchanting story begins. Now, close your eyes and let your imagination take flight.
Mona's Dream.
In the heart of Sudan, in a quiet little village, there lived a young girl named Mona. This bright-eyed, 7-year-old girl may have seemed ordinary, but she had an extraordinary dream. Day after day, Mona would find herself gazing at the grand Nile River that flowed near her village. The river had become her confidant, where she would spill out her dreams of swimming, not just for fun but to make her country proud. Like most children from her village, she didn't have access to swimming pools or training facilities. But for Mona, the Nile was just perfect. Each day, she would strip down to her clothes and throw herself into the river's arms. Mona's parents, like the rest of the villagers, were farmers. While they always supported her dreams, they couldn't understand her fascination with swimming. But Mona was determined to show them that her dreams weren't just whims and fancies. Mona saved every penny she could, just enough to buy a second-hand swimming suit. It was not flashy, but for Mona, it was a symbol of the beginning of her journey. Every evening after her school and house chores, Mona would jump into the Nile and practice. The river was her coach, training her strictly yet gently, teaching her the ways of the water. Mona's determination attracted the attention of Mario, a former Sudanese swimming champion. He saw the glint of a dream and commitment in the young girl's eyes. Mario approached Mona's parents and proposed to train her. Despite their fears and doubts, Mona's parents consented, and so began her formal training. With Mario's guidance, Mona soon discovered that swimming was more than just moving through water, it was an art. As Mona learned the strokes and dives, she felt a growing connection with the water. It was as if the river flowed within her, guiding her through every movement. Days turned into months, and months into years. Mona's life revolved around her school, farm work, and swimming. No matter how exhausting her day was, Mona never missed her swimming practice. When Mona turned 14, Mario believed she was ready for her first competition. She entered a regional swimming meet, and though she didn't win, she left a significant impression. Mona didn't let her loss dishearten her, rather, it fueled her determination. She didn't see a defeat, she saw a learning experience. Mona knew she was getting closer to her dream, one stroke at a time. Over the next few years, Mona participated in numerous swimming competitions. Each participation polished her skills and built her confidence. Mona was not just a dreamer but a fighter. At 17, Mona qualified for the African Championship. She was no longer the little girl that swam in the Nile, she was a promising swimmer representing Sudan. Mona swam her heart out at the championship. With every stroke, she swam closer to her dream. And it paid off. Mona stood on the podium, lifting the gold medal high. This victory, however, was not the end of Mona's journey, but the beginning of her dream, the Olympic Games. The village girl who once swam in the Nile was now a revered athlete representing her country. The Olympic trials were the toughest challenge Mona had ever faced. But Mona was no stranger to hurdles. She trained harder, swam longer, pushing her limits. The Olympic trials arrived, and Mona swam like there was no tomorrow. The splash of her strokes echoed her fighting spirit, and she emerged victorious, qualifying for the Olympics. The day Mona had dreamt of finally arrived. As she stood on the deck, she looked at the pool and remembered the Nile. It wasn't just a dream anymore, It was reality. With each stroke, Mona swam towards her dream. The cheers, the pressure, everything faded in the water. All she could hear was the river's soothing whispers. It wasn't gold, but Mona had done her best. As she emerged from the pool, the crowd's cheers roared in her ears, but all she could hear was the Nile congratulating her. She didn't stand on the podium that day, but she stood tall, a symbol of hope for all the young girls of Sudan who dared to dream. Mona's journey of becoming a swimming champion was not over, it had just begun. Mona returned home, not with a medal, but with a wealth of experience. Her village welcomed her as a champion, and she stood before the Nile, promising to continue her journey. Today, Mona continues to swim, not just in the Nile, but in the hearts of millions. Her journey has inspired countless young dreamers, not only in Sudan but around the world. Mona didn't just swim towards her dream, she swam for the dreams of every young girl in her village, in Sudan, and across the world. She proved that with determination and passion, every river, every dream, and every challenge can be conquered.
The end.